Hey, matey, today we're gonna talk like a pirate. Sometimes my sons and I like to talk like a pirate. We'll make swords, we'll swing them around, we'll look for treasure and have all sorts of fun like a pirate might do. So today I'm gonna teach you how to talk like a pirate. So let's get ready, have some fun, get ready to sound a little silly as we learn to talk like a pirate. Okay, for those of you who may not know what a pirate is, there's a picture of a pirate on the screen right there, our vicious pirate looking for treasure. And today we are going to have a special type of English class. We are going to learn to talk like a pirate. So at the bottom there you can see, "Arr, matey," is "hello, friend." And so let's learn to talk like a pirate. And there is a good reason for this we'll get to in a moment. So first we'll give some examples. And now I'm going to have you doing some of these as well. So I want to point something out that'll be true for me just as much as it's true for you. It doesn't matter if you actually sound like a pirate. What do pirates sound like? I don't know. I just know what the stereotype of a pirate sounds like. What do some of these different people sound like? I don't know, but I'll do my best. Will my accent and imitation be perfect? No. Will it even be good? Probably not. If you're from some of these countries or you are some of these people or whatnot, you may laugh at my um, imitation of it, and that is fine. Please laugh and please don't be offended. I'm not trying to offend anybody with this, but there's just good ways to practice. So when we're talking like a pirate or any of these others, it changes the way you talk. It changes your intonation. I have my normal intonation. Now my pirate intonation is a little bit different, don't you think? Or it changes your rhythms. It changes where the sounds are formed in your mouth. Um, it changes how long you hold the sounds. Arr, matey, holding them longer. So it changes the rhythm of things. So we're going to practice talking like a pirate. Down below, you can see some examples here. So I'll pick some. I might not even tell you what I'm trying to imitate. You can try to figure it out. How's that sound? Because I'm horrible at doing accents without practice on them. But we'll have fun. And that's the thing. I'm going to make fun of myself here, and it's going to go out on YouTube. You can make fun of yourself and have fun with it in the privacy of your home, where your children and your spouse at most might, and maybe some other family, whatever, might laugh at you. But then you can have them come and join you as well. And that's something great to do. If your children come and laugh at you, say, hey, you come talk like a pirate as well. Or if your husband or wife or a relative, somebody comes, have them join you and just have fun with it. Smile, and you can all talk like pirates together. It makes it so much more fun. So let's see. We've got um, howdy-o, cowboy. How you doing today? We're going to go out on the range and learn to talk like a pirate. We're going to do some lassoing and have some fun. I said it right in there with that one. That was my cowboy imitation. Let's see. All right, we are now going to learn how to speak good British English. And my British accent is probably horrible, and it's very similar to my Australian accent, and probably my New York and my Southerner and my Texan accent as well. But this is my imitation of British English, and it's really bad. I should get someone to help me with it. New Yorker, I can't even begin to do. All right. Hello, my name is Robert, which sounds a whole lot like robot because I am imitating a robot, and I am now doing that, and I can feel the sound is back in my throat. It's right about there in my mouth for almost every word, and it changes the way I speak when I am imitating a robot. So those are some examples of my imitating different groups. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to talk like a something right now. But I want to do it. This is one of those few times in class that I will ask you to speak in your own language, not in English. So what I'd like you to do first is to talk like people who speak your same language if possible, but with a different accent, different region, different way of speaking, just like I did. You know, British English, they speak English. I had a list of Australian English. There's some things down there that are examples for English that you'll see on your screen, where it's all English. It's just sort of different forms of English. maybe a different first language. It could be somebody like the second one there says, talk like a foreigner speaking your language. And that's where you talk like somebody else. But right now, think of some other accents, if there are some, where people speak your language, but they're maybe from somewhere else and they speak it differently. And just for a few seconds, you can pause the recording if you want more time. Speak like that person. Okay, go ahead and pause the recording and try that. Okay, now we're back, and I want you, like we talked about earlier, that talk like a foreigner speaking your language. If you can think of somebody, and you can try different foreigners, okay? You can think of an American that comes to your country trying to speak your language or whatever, but try to imitate a foreigner speaking your language. Like a lot of times I hear my students going up a lot with their intonation, going up and things. So if I were imitating some of those languages, I would speak my English differently. Speak your language sounding like a foreigner. Okay, go ahead and pause the recording and try that. All right, now down below, you'll see some other ways that you can speak your language, but with different things. These are the examples I used in English. You might need to come up with some of your own, but what are ways that you could imitate someone speaking your language with just funny ways, like a robot, like a cowboy, different dialects, just anything, a famous person, try to imitate them in the way they speak. Okay, so try that. Go ahead and pause the recording and give that a shot. Okay, we're going to continue. Next, I'd like you, now we're going to switch to English. So the rest of the time will be in English. That was just for some fun to get you to get that feeling of what it feels like to speak a language with moving it around in your mouth. So right now, I'd like you to imitate your instructor. So probably for most of you, that'll be imitating me. I won't be offended. I'd love to hear your recordings. You could even send me a copy of this. I think it's funny. But take a moment, pause the recording, and try to imitate me. Okay? Now, think of some of your classmates. It's not so much imitating them, but think of some of the languages that you have and the way you hear different classmates speaking English. And you've probably noticed that some of them say things that sound a little funny. It might actually be right, and you might be wrong, but to you it sounds a little funny, and you might have picked up on that. I'd like you to try to imitate some of the different classmates or some of those different language bases speaking English with a different accent. Okay, pause the recording and do that. All right, now we're back. And now I'd like you to think of somebody from your own country. All right, whatever country you're from, that's where they're from, but they just arrived in America and they don't speak much English, and they are speaking English. The words are there, maybe with some even grammar differences, as you know that people from your country might change the language. But I'd like you now to speak English like somebody who can speak it sort of well, not somebody who doesn't know anything. They can speak fairly well, but they've got a strong accent. Okay, so speak English with a really strong accent from your country. Okay, go ahead. Have fun with this one. Pause the recording, by the way. All right. So now you've been speaking English in all sorts of funny ways and just feeling the different ways that your mouth moves, where the sounds are formed. You may have noticed that the sounds are formed in different places. The rhythm is different, and you've played around with that some. So now we're still speaking English again, but now we're going to try to speak it right, whatever right is. And that may change depending on where you're studying English. If you're in down south, what you're learning may be a southern accent, a southern dialect. If you're up north, it may be a northern dialect. I happen to be from up north, Ohio, so I've got more of an Ohioan Midwest accent or dialect. And wherever you're from, you don't really usually think of it as a dialect. You think of it as normal, and everybody else has a dialect. But everybody has an accent or dialect. It's just which one is considered standard for where you are. So now I'd like you to try to imitate speaking with a standard dialect, okay? And if you're not sure what to say, you can get a book and read it, or you can just think of things to say by yourself. Okay, go ahead. Okay, pause the recording. Okay, now you're back. Some notes on this one, and then we're gonna have you try again, because this is the main thing we're working on, is I want you to imitate the way that the native speakers speak, even if it sounds funny to you, all right? And as a note I put on there as well is, if you sound and if you feel normal, like yeah, I sound good. I sound like I just feel comfortable with this. It sounds normal. It feels normal. Honestly, you're probably doing it wrong. Just like when you're speaking like a pirate, you feel weird. It's like, what am I doing? I'm moving the sounds all back to the back of my throat, and my intonation is off. It sounds funny. When you're speaking English like a native speaker and you're doing that correctly, it will probably actually sound and feel funny to you because it's different than your first language. Many people, when they go to speak English, they speak it sounding like themselves in their language, which sounds great to you and others from your country, but to native speakers, you've got the strong accent going on. So try to do it, and if it sounds normal, you're probably not doing it right. So pay attention to that and really try to imitate. Okay, you can pause again and try to speak English sounding like a native speaker. Make it sound funny. Okay, go ahead and pause. All right, we're back. Now, why and how on things like that? As I mentioned, we often speak English or any new language in a way that feels comfortable to us. Like when I speak Chinese, I lived in China for a few years. I learned some Chinese. When it sounds good to me, my wife laughs at me. My wife is Chinese. Well, maybe she doesn't laugh at me, but I can tell it's not quite right. It doesn't sound right to her because I'm speaking it like an American. And to me, that sounds normal because it's got American intonation, American rhythms. It just sounds good, but it's not how Chinese sound. Okay, so if you feel comfortable, it's probably wrong. Other languages won't usually feel comfortable or natural if they're spoken in a way that sounds and feels natural to you. So you really need to pretend. It's that acting, it's pretending. It'll sound funny. Pretend to be a native speaker, just like you pretend to be a pirate. And just like when my sons and I do the pirate, we haven't done that for a while, so I'm a little off on that. But if we do that a lot, I can speak like piratey without even trying. It comes out very natural, okay? The same is true for speaking American English. You have to practice it, and it'll sound weird for a while. But once you get practiced at it, it'll sound it'll feel very natural to you, and you'll get used to it, but that will take time. So some just points on how to do that. One, the sounds may come from different parts of your mouth. Native speakers are going to maybe say sounds from a different point or have a different mouth position than you would have saying those same sounds, same words in English based on your country's language. You may have more or less throaty sounds, or rah, rah, for some of the English pronunciations, depending on your language. The intonation may be very different from your language. Some countries, the intonation just keeps going up and up and up. It's a rising intonation at the end of almost every sentence and even every word almost sometimes. And American English doesn't have that, with more of the falling. The rhythm may be different, and it's very important to imitate that rhythm and intonation. Again, don't try to sound good. Some people are going to try to really drill it in and sound good. Try to sound funny. Just overdo the American accent. Really have fun with it, because if you're trying to do it seriously, you're probably going to sound like your native country. But we want you to really overdo it, have fun, and to the point of it being funny. And if you have your children around, they laugh at you. Okay. And then again, just have them join you, and you can all sound like silly Americans together. Okay. Just like I would sound like a silly Chinese when I was practicing Chinese. All right. And I still do, for that matter. Okay. So ways to practice this. One, when you're practicing the L2L, and if you're part of my class, you'll know what that means. Act the L2L. Don't just do the L2L and focus so much on the pronunciation and rhythm and intonation, but act it. Even if you sound funny to it, to act out the L2Ls and become the speaker. Not just trying to sound like them, but become them. You can even use body language. Imitate movies and TV and radio as you're listening to people. Imitate them. Like, it's almost like making fun of them, but you're not trying to make fun of them. You're just imitating them. And just trying to imitate not native speakers, not just their words, but the way they say it. And you can even do it to the point of being funny. So why are we going to do this? One, as you do this, you'll develop a new habit of imitating. Just the actual ability to imitate will improve. And as your ability to imitate improves, your ability to develop those habits like a native speaker will also improve, and you'll imitate it, and you'll sound more and more like a native speaker. It'll become more and more natural and sound less and less funny. So that is our activity for speaking like a pirate, is to work on moving the sounds, on sounding funny as you imitate speaking like an American, British, whatever, it doesn't matter. But when you're learning a language, the base language that you want to learn, to have fun imitating them.